One of the best games I've ever played in over 30 years of gaming was more or less dead on arrival. I'm talking about Anthem, and to this day it pains me to think about all the wasted potential. It's been 4 years since BioWare published it, and I recently took a stroll down memory lane. Checking out the game after all this time though, I did regret my decision within minutes of playing. Not because it was a bad experience overall, but because I now have to mourn the game once more. Never in my life did I have a game that felt so familiar again this quickly. It took less than 5 minutes of actual gameplay for my muscle memory to kick in and my enjoyment to skyrocket. To be fair, I clocked almost 180 hours in the game back then, but 4 years is a damn long time. I've also played other games way more hours in the past, many of them that were still much more tedious to get into after a longer break. But how could a game that I speak so highly of fail so heavily as Anthem did in 2019? Let's find out. The game burst into the scene with a lot of promise. It wasn't just another game, it was a major BioWare project that was meant to blend storytelling prowess and cutting-edge gameplay. Many saw in Anthem the upcoming Destiny 2 killer, and the game carried the weight of those expectations from day one. With its Iron Man-like flight mechanics, Anthem even promised the desired fusion of groundbreaking gameplay with a narrative depth that BioWare is renowned for. When you add to this a world that looked as if it was plucked straight from a sci-fi epic, you have a game that was poised to be the next evolution in gaming. As with many tales of ambition though, Anthem ended up being nothing but an unfulfilled promise that delivered on some fronts but left a vast sky of potential untapped. The core gameplay around the javelins was not one of the problems. In so many years of gaming, few things have given me as much joy as piloting one of Anthem's combat suits. The meticulous attention to detail showcased BioWare's commitment to delivering an authentic and engaging flight experience, from the hum of the engines to the way the javelin responds to every twist and turn. While only 4 javelins were available, all of them felt unique and powerful. There's the Ranger, a balanced all-rounder and my personal favorite. Then there's the Colossus, a nod to the MMORPG tanks of old, powerful but deliberate. Next comes the Interceptor, the embodiment of speed, precision, but also fragility. And then you have the Storm, floating gracefully while wielding elemental forces with strategic finesse. No, the javelins and the gameplay designed around them were certainly not the downfall of Anthem. However, as I soared through the skies again recently, I couldn't help but feel that this world, as stunningly beautiful as it is, often felt empty. There were times when I'd fly for minutes without encountering any significant events or challenges. The world's vastness, instead of being its strength, sometimes became its weakness. It's like having a vast canvas with patches of brilliance, but also vast stretches of emptiness in between. And the story unfortunately didn't help here. BioWare, the masters behind epics like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, had set the bar high in the past. And the premise of Anthem was intriguing as well. It is a world shaped and threatened by the mysterious Anthem of creation, with ancient relics to discover and multiple factions vying for power. The lore at first glance felt deep, the world's history rich, and the stage seemed set for an epic narrative. But as the story unfolded, it felt disjointed. The missions, while engaging at times, often were too repetitive, and the narrative overall didn't have the depth and branching choices that BioWare used to be celebrated for. Characters, more often than not, lacked the depth and development that would make players truly care for them. What made the whole thing even worse were the design decisions around Fort Tarsis, the main hub for players. With its slow-paced and forced first-person view experience, it was mostly immersion-breaking and tedious, rather than a means of bringing the player closer to the characters of this world. In the end though, what players were most interested in anyway was probably the allure of any looter shooter, and that is the chase. The relentless pursuit of that perfect piece of gear. Anthem's loot system, on paper, was everything a looter shooter enthusiast could ask for. A plethora of weapons, gear and cosmetics to chase after. But in practice, well, it's a bit more complicated. The thrill of getting that perfect drop, the anticipation as you see a legendary item pop up. These are the moments that make looter games so addictive, and Anthem at times delivered on this thrill. But there were too many inconsistencies. The RNG mechanics can be unforgiving, often rewarding players with gear that doesn't match their playstyle or javelin class. Furthermore, the lack of a reroll option means that players are at the mercy of luck. It's a system that, while promising, often feels as if it's holding back. It's like being handed a beautifully wrapped gift, only to find it empty. All these foundational issues, combined with a lack of content and technical problems, killed the game before it ever had a chance. Now, I wasn't on the inside, so I'd be cautious about claiming mismanagement on BioWare's part. But it is clear that Anthem never received the same treatment as Dragon Age Origins or the original Mass Effect trilogy. Some former developers of BioWare even claim that the game had to be rushed out in only 15 months. Once the paragons of RPG storytelling, BioWare's endeavors in recent years have been met with a mix of hope, skepticism, and concern. And some already claim that Dragon Age 4 is BioWare's last real shot at redemption. But the studio itself is a topic for a different time. Today, I simply wanted to dwell in the good and bad of Anthem one more time and leave a final goodbye before EA shuts the servers down for real, whenever that might happen. For those of you who haven't yet taken the leap into the world of Anthem, I urge you to give it a shot. Not for its story, not for its loot system, but for the sheer joy of flight and for the adrenaline rush of combat. The feeling of soaring through the skies, unburdened by the weight of the world, is simply magical. It's an experience that, despite its flaws, remains unparalleled in my opinion. Personally, I will keep clinging to the dream that Anthem's spirit will one day soar to the height it truly deserves. That BioWare, or a different developer, dares to make this game what it could and should have been. Because what is it they always say? Hope never dies. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing and see you in the next one.